Hey, yo, let's fucking go. All right, man. Fuck. Let's get some notes going here real quick. Give me just a second. Keep this shit going. Hold on 1 second. Shit. Got some big shit to talk about today. Oh my god. It's like the whole west side of California. Like everybody that was just celebrating, like, came crashing down, man. This is kind of wild. Let me open up Obsidian real quick, man. Gotta get my notes going, man. Oh, shit. All right. Now, there is some shit going on with BriccBaby. I haven't yet been able to find his doc, find his indictment online. I was looking for it, but I haven't been able to get it yet. But I did get DJU. Now, hold on just a second. Let me get everything set up here real quick. All right. So, we do have some shit going on, man. The Rolling 60s just got absolutely obliterated over the last 2 days. We found some clear evidence of potential telling, or at least working long term with the people. Let me go ahead here. This one's in progress. Let's keep that going now for the tags. We're gonna do. This is gonna be hip hop. We're gonna do court filings, and we're gonna do indictments. All right, so let me just get all this set up real quick. There's a lot going on, man. It seems like BriccBaby's situation has kind of bled into the mainstream. I think that's who everybody was mostly concerned about with these current indictments from the feds. Just because he's the biggest face. Of course, a lot of people know Loose Cannon as well. He's obviously going through some things, but I don't think he's going through the same things that BriccBaby is necessarily going through. I just don't. I got to be honest. When we look at the BriccBaby indictment, he was arrested for possession of what he said was just an AK-47, which is already kind of crazy work. You know what I mean? For a felon in California, kind of crazy work already. But what turned out was, what actually happened was that BriccBaby was caught with multiple guns. Looks like he had 3 firearms, over 200 rounds of ammunition, as well as 2 separate drug charges. Rolling 60s, indictment, notes. All right. Now we can start breaking this down. I am going to go ahead and link the reference here. Paste that in there. Go ahead, go like this. This is the official. I don't know why I keep wanting to call him DJ U, man. Chicago shit. Big U and Rolling 60s federal indictment. And this is from the government themselves. This is the actual indictment here. We've seen a couple other content creators go over this. I was watching KB Goes Live go over this today just to kind of summarize it quite a bit. It is a very big document. We do have over 105 pages. I believe it's 107 pages in this indictment. But there's a lot to unpack here. I do think that the BriccBaby situation where he came out and was talking on No Jumper about being caught with an AK was kind of a red herring. Just seems like it wasn't totally accurate as to what they actually caught him with, which is kind of a red flag. So, BriccBaby was incarcerated for a brief, I believe it was only overnight or only for a couple days, for what he said was possession of an AK-47. Come to find out, he had multiple weapons on him. His indictment was unsealed today, even though it's separate from this Rolling 60s indictment. It is very telling as to what could have potentially played a role in some of this situation. Now, I would never say that one for one, this is exactly how it went down. I do think that there are definitely some red flags, but to preserve everybody's innocence in this situation, I still believe that none of this is true. I don't think anybody should believe that it's true until it's absolutely decided by a jury of your peers. That's kind of how our society works. So, all right, criminal complaint by telephone or other reliable electronic means. There was a complainant in the case stated that the following is true to best of knowledge and belief. In or around the years of 2010 through the present in the county of Los Angeles in the Central District of California, the defendants violated the RICO conspiracy, interference with commerce by robbery, transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution, bank fraud, and the most egregious of which would be murder that they haven't listed on the entire RICO. That's just a big U charge at this point. Now, the affidavit, Andrew James Russa, being duly sworn, declared that the state follows. I'm a special agent and SA with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and have been employed since September 2018. I'm currently assigned to the Criminal Enterprise Squad at the Orange County Resident Agency of the FBI, where I'm tasked with investigating violent gangs and organized criminal enterprises. From March 2019 through December 2024, when I joined the Orange County Resident Agency, I was assigned to the Los Angeles Field Office investigating violent gangs and organized criminal enterprises in conjunction with the Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs, the LAMPT. Whatever. You guys got to work on that down there in Los Angeles, but it's all good. Multi-agency federal, state, and local gang task force. My experience, as a special agent with the FBI includes, but is not limited to, conducting physical surveillance, executing search and arrest warrants, working with informants, issuing subpoenas, analyzing pen register and trap and trace records, which they've definitely used in this case. They said that several phones in this case were tapped. I believe BriccBaby's phone in particular was tapped. And we also do have some violent crimes, some extortion that was committed against local business workers in this case. That's also pretty troubling. Let me see here. Issue subpoenas, consensually monitored meetings and telephone calls, analyzing financial records and conducting court-authorized interception of wire communications. Basic protocol for a special agent of the FBI. I've received training in investigation of violations of federal law, including racketeering laws, federal drug conspiracy laws, and personally participated and assisted with several gang investigations involving racketeering and drug conspiracies. So, just a background on the main detective or special agent in this case, rather. The purpose of the affidavit is made to support a criminal complaint and arrest warrants for Eugene Henley Jr., also known as AKA Big U, AKA Unk, AKA Draws, AKA Hannibal, AKA Hannibal Muhammad, AKA Anybody Killer, AKA Dave Austin, Sylvester Robinson, aka Vay, and Mark Martin, aka Bear Claw, for violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1962D, Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Conspiracy, which is the RICO Act. Okay. Now we also have Tremaine Ashley Williams, aka Loose Cannon. A lot of people know him from No Jumper. He's in there for a violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1951A, interference with commerce by robbery. So basically just stating that he robbed a legitimate business, interfered with their everyday operations, which is their commerce, their trade. So they sell, in one of the cases here, they sell weed in a dispensary. He interfered with the business's practice of selling weed in a dispensary by robbing the business. We have, and I don't think I've seen anybody get this name right, but I'm going to do my best. Armani Aflelje, aka Mani Aflelje, for a violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 2421A, transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution. I believe she has actually already attested to this. She tried to say that she's not a pimp, but she does facilitate and brings women across state lines to indulge in the act of prostitution for the organization, which is an admission of guilt. So that one's already pretty much signed, sealed, delivered. She screwed herself. She should have stayed quiet, man. You got the right to remain quiet, and it's important to remember. Frederick Blanton Jr., we've all heard of Blanton if you watch No Jumper, if you're a hardcore, so to speak, you've heard of Blanton. Tiffany Shinrika Hines, for violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1344-1, which was bank fraud. There is some very significant evidence there that was probably the case as well. And the facts set forth in this affidavit are based upon my personal observations, my training experience. Of course, the cop is just going to keep on insisting that he has had adequate training for this. Since he is a FBI special agent, I would probably assume that he has had the training that he claims to have. So, Article 3, persons, property, and premises to be searched. This affidavit is also made in support of warrants to search the following, which they have already done. They have searched the person of Henley. When they arrested Big U, I'm sure they conducted a full search. Black 2021 Mercedes, registered to Henley and believed to be used by Henley, bearing California license plate. Cross that out. As attachment A2, Henley's residence at blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is all public record, so I mean, it is what it is. You can find this as well. But, and I do believe that all of these residences that he actually owned are subject to this investigation. I believe that he actually has to foreclose on all of his residences, and I believe a couple of his vehicles as well. They are checking 1, 2 residents, the person of Robinson, Loose Cannon, as described in attachment A5. I'm sure they did that when he was arrested as well. His residence as well. The person of Martin, as described. They went ahead and did that as well. And the businesses of Ex-Offender Fellowship Network, doing business by the Developing Options of other names. Developing Options, which is Big U's nonprofit organization, located at 5444 Crenshaw Boulevard. Now, I am just going to add a little note on this. Developing Options nonprofit, because there was a lot of it appears like there was a lot of laundering. It just appears flat out like laundering through the, or using the Developing Options nonprofit fund funnel money for his own personal accounts, and the evidence is, I mean, it's there. It's pretty striking. There's kind of no way to argue the fact that funds from the organization were not going directly to him. I think we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but that's it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and I know that there were a lot of things that were done very, very properly to help the less privileged and the underprivileged in the Los Angeles area. I know that they were doing a lot of good work, especially on back to school programs or like child football leagues. I know that was a huge thing that they were doing to just try to get people out of the streets and focus their mentality on sports and a team building exercise rather than to hate. And as so many other things go, man, it's a good message. It's a good cause, but a lot of times, more times than not, I figure good causes are meant to either hide or just kind of downplay some of the nefarious acts that are going on within the individuals that operate it. So items to be seized, we were just talking about this. The items to be seized from Henley's Mercedes, Henley's house, Henley's second house are evidence, fruits, and instrumentalities of violations of 18 USC 1962D, racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations conspiracy. Basically saying anything that was achieved during this racketeering organization is subject to forfeiture, basically. So, for example, a lot of the mafia, a lot of the people back in the 50s that were operating these really, really complex black market organizations, they would have their assets removed from them as well. It wasn't just you're going to jail. They would have their assets removed from them as well. And it looks like they're doing the same thing here. Looks like he violated it. They're claiming that he's violated multiple laws: unlawful debt collection, conspiracy to interfere, attempted interference with commerce by robbery and extortion, which I guess would already kind of justify the seizure of these items. Use of a firearm and furtherance of a crime of violence. I don't know if that's really justification enough. Transport of an individual in interstate commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution. That is a big charge. If you are trafficking, if you are human trafficking people over state lines, border lines, and stuff like that, that's not small chips, man. So like that's a big deal. Wire fraud, that's a white collar crime. You can definitely lose assets from that. Embezzlement, conversion, and intentional misapplication of funds from organized receiving federal funds. Same thing, that is a white collar crime. Bank fraud, false statement to a financial institution. I believe that this had to do with PPP loans during COVID. I'm not sure what exactly that entails. I would assume that it would probably come with a massive fine, massive fine. But I don't know if that's justification for seizure of property. Attempt to evade or defeat income tax. Well, we've seen this absolutely destroy people's lives. Willful failure to file tax return. Obstruction of justice. Then they talk about loose cannon. Same thing. Now we're getting to the actual meat and potatoes here. This is the summary of the investigation. In February 2021, the FBI Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs launched an investigation into Henley's criminal enterprise and its association with the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, which the lamp, whatever the fuck that means, began investigating in August 2020. The Big U Enterprise is a mafia-like organization that utilizes Henry. I'm going to go ahead and just grab all of this for the notes. Since this is the preface to the actual summary of the investigation, we're just going to add this into our notes here. Make sure that we add our quotations just to show that this is, in fact, an insert rather than a individual and unique thought. In the 1980s, Henley rose to a prominent position in the Los Angeles drug and Rolling 60s hierarchies. During this time, Henley also earned a reputation as an enforcer for the Rolling 60s. Some members of Big U Enterprise are also members of the Rolling 60s. Henley is able to lead the Big U Enterprise because of his standing as the face of the Rolling 60s for decades and his reputation for violence, including murder at times. Well, including murder. At times, the Big U Enterprise partners with members and associates of the Rolling 60s and other criminal elements for mutual benefit, but the Big U Enterprise is a distinct and independent criminal enterprise engaged in criminal activity. Members and associates of the Big U Enterprise are engaged in illegal activities, including extortion, robbery, murder, human trafficking, wire fraud, bank fraud, other financial crimes, obstruction of justice, illegal debt collection, illegal gambling, conspiracy to commit fraud via illegal gambling, and other offenses in furtherance of the Big U Enterprise and for the benefits of its members and associates. Now, I will say, just with the amount of time that they've put into this down in LA, I don't think that this is going to be another Young Thug situation. I think that there were so many holes that were poked into the Young Thug and YSL case that just during the trial that and with the corruption, there was so much corruption going on in Georgia at the time. I think Brian Steele definitely got a slam dunk of a case when he got that one. If it wasn't just the solemn fact that the prosecutors were absolutely corrupt, he also had the benefit of having a ton of witnesses that were willing to poke holes in the prosecution. In this, I just don't think, especially being in LA. Now, don't get me wrong, Atlanta is a major metropolitan area, but LA is almost mostly well known for how good their lawyers are. And with the with the investigation literally laid out like this, I don't think they left any stone unturned. I don't think they left any T uncrossed or any I undotted. I think they definitely had several people that were probably desperately in fear of their lives due to extortion and robberies that were going on in their legitimate businesses, that they have a wider demographic of witnesses in this particular situation. They do have legit business owners that are testifying. They do have legit business owners that have been cooperating, have been using specific tactics, specific confidential tactics, confidential informant tactics that you would expect from anybody, whether it is just observation. A lot of times it is observation with the federal agencies, especially, but even in the state justice system, they use a lot of observation. They will send people that are wired up to go and talk to you. We all know that this is true. But in this case in particular, being the fact that it was the FBI that was involved, this was not a state case the same way that, Young Thug's case was. This is a federal case, and I just think that they were very well prepared for this. It seems like they've been looking into this for years and years, and they have they set all the traps necessary. As horrible as that sounds, I mean, it is entrapment, basically. But entrapment only works if the criminal allows it to be fair. So like you could be doing it, you could be holding an investigation on me, quiet investigation where you're kind of staking me out, you're looking in my windows, you're checking my mail before I get home and shit like that. You can conduct an investigation like that, but it only works as far as the criminal is allowed to let it go. So like as they're conducting an investigation, you don't commit any crimes. You don't leave any evidence of your crimes. You don't have conversations on the phone. You have a specific schedule that you kind of abide by where you can get your work done. These things don't happen. But the thing is when there's an ongoing federal investigation where they are surveilling you, they are observing you, and you continue to commit crimes, that's where you start to trip yourself up. At the end of the day, it's only the alleged that has the control over whether a entrapment case is successful or not. The cops can try to entrap me all they want, but if I'm not committing a crime, what the fuck are they going to get me on? You know what I mean? So it's always up to the alleged, and it just seems like this has been going downhill for a while. It seems like there was probably some desperation through some of this. Maybe there were some promises made with a large sum of money that wasn't being fulfilled, and maybe that's kind of what was the first domino in the chain of this. But I do just want to reinforce, if these crimes weren't getting committed and brazenly, kind of like in the open, and they talked about it, like if these crimes weren't getting committed, if you just got investigated and then you just stopped and you just chilled out, this type of shit just would never happen. But I do gotta run to the bathroom real quick. Give me just 1 second here.
Dry skin. Hey, it's
Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get a dog right now. Everybody worried about the crown being. Look, homie, I'm the man right now. Talking to a peon, kind of time we on. Don't hold like the kind of take eons. Got a little buzz, it's time to go beyond. Can't look back, no time to hit rewind. Yeah, she wants to do S class. I'm like, boo, you must ask. They pour way too much in your glass. Just move your hips like a hold up class. Hit the gab, I talk that gap. Strut like up and I walk that shit. When I'm up, that's it. I'ma start living reckless. Get that bag, I'ma walk like this. Yeah, I'ma walk like this. Hit that lane, I'ma walk like this. Walk in the spot, but they all get lit. Told them on flow, let me talk my shit. Every song bang when they drop in hit. Said on the man, post stop, no miss. Over your head, next time, don't slip. Play your part, better read that script. Yeah, I'ma walk like this. Yeah, I'm steady focused on money now. I'm trying to count to 100 down. That's daily. Gravy pay me. M's and M's, no Slim Shady. Bank account going so crazy. Still live it up when I'm over 80. Flying, I'm hotter than Hades. Middle fingers up to the ones when I hate me. Come with my vibe and I'm up like a drought. Everybody lying for a little bit of clout. Stay making moves like I'm trying to sell a house. That's how it be when you're raised in the South. Mama always said that this money be the death of me. Money can't buy you happy, but I never seen a sad man riding a jet ski. Time will tell, moving breakneck speed. First it was hate, now they drop my steeds. Took small sips, now they drinks on me. Commas in the bank, that's all I need. Business first and chill after. Set to cruise, but not the actor. Work hard, let the money stack up while y'all broke like a stress fracture. My God.
Let's get back to it. All right. So, as we had mentioned, in the 1980s, he rose to a prominent position in the Los Angeles drug and Rolling 60s hierarchies. At times, the Big U Enterprise partners with members and associates of the Rolling 60s and other criminal elements for mutual benefit, but the Big U Enterprise is a distinct and independent criminal enterprise engaged in criminal activity. Members and associates of the Big U Enterprise are engaged in illegal activities, extortion, robbery, murder, human trafficking, wire fraud, bank fraud, other financial crimes, obstruction of justice, illegal debt collection, illegal gambling, conspiracy to commit fraud via illegal gambling, and other offenses in furtherance of the Big U Enterprise and for the benefits of its members and associates. As set forth in detail below, through the course of the investigation, agents gathered information from a variety of sources, including 1, confidential human sources, 2, surreptitious recordings, including Title III wiretaps, 3, search warrants for social media, iCloud, and Google accounts, financial records from both individuals and companies and organizations, toll records showing communications between conspirators, victims, and the Big U Enterprise members and associates, cell site location information from numerous phones, including Big U, Loose Cannon, Robinson, Martin, the City of Los Angeles records, public filings, and other publicly available information, and interviews of witnesses and victims. The investigation employed various additional investigative techniques, including surveillance, observation, like I said earlier, vehicle tracking. That part I didn't even really know was a thing in this case. Poll cameras, recording devices, interaction with confidential sources, and information gleaned through undercover purchases of firearms and narcotics. I don't know if that was really touched base on either in the indictment. I've kind of read through quite a bit of this, but I don't know if that... I'm not sure about that one. Because I haven't seen any even accusation of undercover sales of firearms and narcotics. But the United States District Court for the Central District of California authorized multiple Title III wire and electronic interception orders for telephones being used by certain subjects of the investigation, including all of those that we had spoken of, as well as BriccBaby. This is the first time that he is personally named in this document, which is kind of strange. He has no connection to the document as far as I'm concerned, but they did have wiretaps and electronic interception orders on his phone. So that's, I'm not, of course, speculation is just going to lead you to believe that there's some foul play and some bullshit here. But I mean, it's just very strange. He's not named very often in this investigation at all. So it's just kind of weird that the one time that they pinpoint him is when they're saying that they've been tracking and tapping his phone. So the court also authorized the interception of audio and visual nonverbal conduct via closed circuit television, CCTV, through the installation of video and audio bugs in a location. So obviously there were a couple people here that were on wire and definitely, probably knowingly at this point, on video as well. Since the inception of this investigation, the FBI, Internal Revenue Service, United States Attorney's Office in the Central District of California, North Las Vegas Police Department, Los Angeles Police Department, and other local agencies have interviewed more than 50 individuals, including subjects of the investigation, who agreed to voluntarily provide information. As discussed further below, based on information learned from these individuals and other sources, FBI secret agents, special agents, IRS CI special agents, NLVPD detectives, North Las Vegas PD detectives, and LAPD detectives requested and obtained additional search warrants and subpoenas. Below, I summarize the information and evidence obtained thus far from various investigative tools where relevant to the requested complaint and warrants. The investigation remains ongoing. Summary of probable cause. The three and others known and unknown are members of the Big U Enterprise, a criminal organization whose members and associates engage in, among other things, murder, kidnapping, robbery, extortion, interstate transportation of prostitution, bank fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. The Big U Enterprise operates within the Central District of California and elsewhere. Big U Enterprise, including its leaders, members, and associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by the Title 18, United States Code, Section 1961-4. That is, a group of individuals associated, in fact, that engaged in, and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce. Foreign trade, basically. The Big U Enterprise constituted an ongoing investigation whose members and associates function as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the purposes of the Big U Enterprise. The purpose of the Big U Enterprise includes, but are not limited to, the following: enriching. We need to take some notes on this too. Let's just go ahead and get all of these out of the way as well. Gotta add these to the notes. Just gonna have to happen, man. Okay. All right. Beginning no later than 2010 and continuing to the present in Los Angeles County. Basically, all they said was the Big U Enterprise was engaged in activities which affected interstate and foreign commerce. The purposes being enriching Big U Enterprise members and associates by using the power and status of Big U to commit extortion, robbery, fraud, and other crimes. Promoting, protecting, and expanding the power and reputation and profits, which is furtherance of the gang, basically. We all know that from the Young Thug trial. So they promoted and protected in furtherance of the gang by expanding power and reputation. Using social media platforms, documentaries, podcasts, interviews for Henley's reputation and status to create fame for, which is another furtherance of the gang, which is a huge fundamental part of any RICO case. And financially enriching Big U's enterprise members and associates by defrauding donors to nonprofit entities under the control of the Big U Enterprise. This is the extortion part. So they defrauded people that were willing to donate to them. Actually, I think this would be more of the fraud. Yeah, this would definitely be more fraud. I think there are a couple of celebrities, basketball players, foundation organizers. There's certain people that were definitely paying out large sums of money, 50, 100 grand checks to Big U, which he was in turn taking and flipping a vast majority of that money into his own personal account, which, by the way, is what I was saying earlier. If you don't give people the reason to believe that you're defrauding donors, then don't like just fucking dump your donated money into your personal account. That's insane. Financially enriching Big U Enterprise members and associates by defrauding federal, state, and local agencies that awarded grants and other financial support to nonprofit entities. This was the PPP loans. Evidently, he had collected 2 PPP loans. I believe the first one was around 90 grand during the pandemic. So this was defraud of the government subsidies. Financially enriching Big U Enterprise members and associates by defrauding mortgage lending businesses. There's a couple of cases of that as well, where he fraudulently provided some information to real estate agents so that they could go ahead and approve for some of his homies, some of his guys to get cribs, get houses. Gratifying Big U Enterprise members and associates by trafficking and exploiting sex workers, basically just pulling prostitutes over state lines. Concealing and protecting the illegal activities of the Big U Enterprise and its members and associates from detection by law through means that included, among other things, witness tampering and obstruction of justice. So, obviously, that's just an interference to the investigation by whether it's threatening witnesses or just all in all causing so much bullshit that it affected the police investigation. Basically, yeah, it's mostly witness tampering. I think that's kind of what they're leaning on here. Beginning no later than 2010 and continuing to the present in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California and elsewhere, Henley, the big three, Henley, Robinson, and Martin, the big three, each being a person employed by and associated with Big U Enterprise and an enterprise engaged in the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly and intentionally conspired to violate Title 18. So this is the conspiracy. It's kind of necessary for almost every RICO indictment to have conspiracy or a premeditation that affects your actions and the actions that the organization takes. But that is to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of affairs of the Big U Enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as that term is defined in the Title 18. So, several acts involving murder. This one is the big one that everybody's talking about right now, which was Big U's son's best friend. I believe he also coached him in football. They'll kind of touch base on that here. But he flew him on out to Vegas. He was a rapper. He was putting him in the studio. He was booking all sorts of studio time for him. Homie got in the studio, evidently recorded a diss track. That was pretty telling. Like it pretty much said that he was going at Big U, which is obviously an act of disrespect, something that the Rolling 60s do not tolerate. Also, it looks like the little dude skipped out on a couple of the days in the studio. I'm sure that was probably pretty expensive, and that's enough to piss somebody off right there. Kidnapping, chargeable under Nevada revised statutes. I don't really think there's a very good basis for that necessarily. Robbery, chargeable under California penal laws. Extortion, chargeable under California penal laws. Now, these are the state laws that they can always bring back if the Fed case falls through. Title 18 United States Code relating to wire fraud, that's a federal case. Relating to financial institute of fraud, that's a federal case. Relating to interference with commerce, robbery, or extortion, that's a federal case. United States Code, section 2421, relating to interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution, that's a federal case. Since it is over state lines, that is a federal human trafficking crime. It was a further part of the conspiracy that the Big Three agreed that the conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of the affairs of the Big U Enterprise. The Big Three and other members and associates of the Big U Enterprise conducted and participated in the conduct of the affairs of the Big U Enterprise through the following means and methods, among others. Members committed and conspired and threatened to commit acts of violence, including murder, armed assaults, robberies, extortions, acts of intimidation, threats, violence, threats of violence to generate income, create an atmosphere of fear. This kind of language right here, create an atmosphere of fear, kind of leads more into like the terroristic threat realm for me. Like I'm still very like it's still very young in the current administration, but I feel like this kind of language right here can definitely be used to I think this kind of language right here could be used to elevate charges at some point. I think that this could be used to entice or enhance the charges to a level of like a terroristic threat. But yeah, protect and expand the Big U Enterprise's reputation for violence and expand the Big U's enterprise criminal operations. That's part of racketeering. Members and associates of Big U used his history and reputation. This is a lot of the same thing over and over again, but that's kind of what we're used to here. Let's get into, see, this is where we start getting into some hot shit. As part of the Big U's enterprise purported control Los Angeles individuals, including professional athletes, musicians, and others, intending to conduct certain types of business in Los Angeles, including both legitimate businesses and illicit criminal conduct. They were required to check in with Henley prior to traveling to Los Angeles. This is apparently, and I mean, we've heard about checking in, and we've seen people kind of argue why they shouldn't have to check in, or why it's not necessary, why they in particular, it's almost like kind of a boast. It's like a badass, like, I'm the shit, bro. I ain't gotta check in with nobody. What the fuck you mean I gotta check? I ain't checking in with shit, bitch. Like, but in Los Angeles in particular, checking in, and I think it's the same in a lot of major cities, Houston, Detroit, Miami, Chicago. I think it is a very big deal. You got to check in. You got to check in with the people, bro. You got to make sure that you're straight. And it is a safety assurance as well as it is a means to extort people. And I think that that's kind of what they're leading at here. But Henley hosted a podcast titled Checking In. The opening theme of the song explained, when you hop off the plane, check in. When your feet hit the street, check in. Penthouse suite, check in. Because if not, shit get hot. You better check in. The check-in included both a payment to the Big U Enterprise as well as requesting permission from Henley to conduct certain activities, including acts of violence that were sanctioned by the Big U Enterprise. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this as well here. I need all the notes that I possibly can, man. I should be taking more, but I want to get through a lot of this. I've kind of already been keeping myself in the loop about it, so I think I'll maintain. The check included both a payment to the Big U Enterprise as well as permission to conduct certain activities. If I don't pick up the phone, that can mean death for somebody. As Henley stated in the Nothing to Something podcast, you're going to check in. You could choose not to, and it's going to be a problem. If you choose not to check in, you suffer the consequences. You feel like you got something bigger than what's there, and that not checking in is basically an act of war. It ain't not one human being who's not going to check in. And this is why you kind of just can't do this kind of shit. This is kind of why you just can't do this shit, to be fair. You can't be saying this shit publicly, man. You do have the right to remain silent. That is a core fundamental right that every American is given, bro. You just need to stop. We keep doing this shit to ourselves, and we keep pretending like this shit is cool, man. None of this would have even been possible if it wasn't for the fact that people did not remain fucking shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? People did not continue to shut the fuck up. They wanted to be big and bad and all that shit. I get it, man. But like, you could be big and bad without all that talking, bro. To be fair, because now you done talked your way into a whole Fed case that is just full of fucking shit, man. This shit is terrible. D, while members and associates of the Big U Enterprise use Henley and the Big U's enterprise history and reputation to control Los Angeles through violence, fear, and intimidation, Henley simultaneously attempted to create an air of legitimacy for the Big U enterprise by promoting himself as a reformed gang member focused on bettering his community through the perpetrated nonprofit organizations he founded, such as Developing Options. That's another thing. As soon as you start founding a nonprofit organization, bro, chill the fuck out. At this point, you just gotta stop doing that street shit, bro. Like a nonprofit is it receives a ton of donations. And those donations are highly scrutinized. Like, they are 100% watched. It is a great thing to start a nonprofit organization. But don't think you can use your nonprofit to funnel some fucking bullshit. Like, funnel some money or to protect you from crimes that you may commit. As a matter of fact, it just puts a huge magnifying glass on you. As soon as you own a nonprofit, they're watching you. They're like, okay, now what's the motivation behind this? That's how a law enforcement, you know what I'm saying? That's how like a lawyer looks at it. That's how a law enforcement agent looks at it. Like, as soon as you get a nonprofit, man, you better chill the fuck out. You better be chill enough on bread and on money and on, you know, on life to not have to worry about much, man. Because as soon as you start a nonprofit, you are telling the government, I'm here to use my power, my energy for good. And the government is always going to look at young middle-aged people, you know, even older people, and ask, what is your motivation to be doing this? They're not going to straight up ask you. They're going to watch what the fuck you're doing. They're going to observe you. They're going to surveil you. They're going to be, you know, at your spot with the fucking, you know, at your business with the fucking, the audit man, the IRS man, you know what I'm saying? So like, you gotta, even though it's a nonprofit organization, many donations are funded to the organization, and they're kind of not capped. So if somebody believes in what you're doing in a nonprofit organization, they could literally just hand you 100 bands. And that's a lot of money. That's money that should be regulated anywhere else, and it still is within a nonprofit. So you just can't use this as like a safety net to try to keep you safe as you're doing some foul fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? You have to, once you choose to be a nonprofit, you have to walk the line, bro. You have to legit be on the straight and fucking narrow, and you can't deviate from helping people. You can't go back to bullshit after you've done this. It's a huge responsibility, and it comes with a huge weight. And that's for good reason. You know, I would never tell somebody who has made it successful not to help underprivileged or low income families. But I would always say that there's other ways to do it, whether you're funding maybe a local organization that helps underfunded, you know, underfunded communities, underfunded families, low income families. Single homes, single mother homes, you know, like you can fund other organizations that can help people. Now obviously, if you're not going to commit crime, if you're going to just 100% stick to the humanitarian effort of helping people, then a nonprofit is amazing. And I commend anybody that's willing to do that shit. But you have to understand that there is a level of active responsibility that you have to have once you make the commitment to start a nonprofit organization. So, you know, obviously, Big U enterprise included by embezzling funds meant as charitable donations. That's exactly what I'm saying right there. Using the nonprofit entities to fraudulently apply for government assistance and loans. That's actually just foolish. I gotta tell you, it's foolish. It's foolish as shit. A lot of people did fall through the cracks, but they're just basically dangling on by a thread. Any business that received fraudulent PPP loans or anything like that, like your days are numbered, man. Your best bet is to close shop and rebuild with a different brand, use a different organization, and get the fuck away from the name that you fraudulently collected government assistance from, because they don't fuck around about that shit. But and also using the nonprofit entities to falsify employment and financial records. We talked about this. There was some income adjustment to help one of the guys get a crib. So These are legitimate issues right here. Members and associates of the Big U enterprise would discipline other members and associates who acted in ways seemed detrimental to the Big U enterprise, or other individuals who were seen as disrespecting the Big U enterprise or its members, including through threats and acts of violence such as assault, kidnapping, or murder. Members and associates would avoid detection of law enforcement by, among other activities, attempting to thwart and evade law enforcement surveillance. Which anybody the fuck would do. If you're being fucking observed by the law, you're definitely not just gonna sit there and stand on camera and wave hi to them and shit. Like, fuck no. I'm always going to evade your surveillance if you're watching me. Destroying video surveillance or other evidence, that's a big one. That's see, this does lead to a highly sophisticated criminal organization, which is why the charges are federal, and it's also why the charges are so damning. Like, this is pretty bad shit. It's pretty bad shit, man. Threatening or otherwise pressuring victims or witnesses of crimes committed by members and associates of untruthful statements or testimony to the law enforcement officers. I mean, that happens all the time as well. In some, there's probable cause to believe that in furtherance of the Big U enterprise, Big U kidnapped, murdered victim RW. This is his son's best friend, apparently one of his best friends, and a kid that played on Big U's kids football team. In retaliation for perceived disrespect to the Big U enterprise, and endeavor to conceal that murder with other Big U enterprise members and associates. So obviously there is other people that they believe had some information about this murder. Also, the big four now, committed arranged robberies to enrich the Big U enterprise, further the extortions committed by the Big U enterprise, and to create the impression that the Big U enterprise controlled Los Angeles. And the big three extorted individuals in Los Angeles for purported protection, which such protection was actually from violence committed by the Big U enterprise itself. That's a big one. So, like, when you run into a legitimate business in California, it's a weed dispensary. When you run into a legitimate weed dispensary and you hold the place up, you stick this bitch up, you pull out, you poke, you know what I'm saying? You poke around, you tell them, hey, I need all the shit up out of this bitch. And you rob this legitimate business blind. And then 2 hours later, you invite the owner of that business to come and talk to the man. And y'all got all of his money and all of his assets, all of his shit on the fucking table. And y'all try to bargain with him on what a good price is for him to buy his shit back. Now you have just extorted a man to, hold on. I mean, the way that they put it was perfect. Extorted individuals in Los Angeles for purported protection. You're saying, hey, bro, if you just pay us X amount per week, X amount per month type shit, and if you just make sure that you pay whatever the fuck we ask for, we ain't gonna come and rob you again, my guy. Like, you'll be good, bro. You ain't even gonna have to worry about anybody else robbing you. We gonna be looking out for you, but you gotta pay us X amount per week. Now, if you don't pay us next week, we about to run up in this bitch and take you for all the shit you got again. When you do shit like that, bro, this is foolishness. It's foolishness. You setting yourself up. You setting yourself the fuck up. Like, what? First off, this is a legitimate business. What is to tell this business owner who's running a legitimate weed dispensary? This is 100% legal in California. This is a fucking 9 to 5. What is to stop this man who runs this legitimate business from going and fucking cooperating with the motherfucking police, bro? He's a civ, bro. He's a civilian. And on top of that, you know, within the paperwork, it does show that he was using this weed dispensary guy to go and track down other legitimate businesses for them to extort and fucking bleed dry. And I believe they actually name another business. I believe it's a club down in LA. I believe they name another business in the paperwork as well. So it's like, oh man. I mean, look, man. I know that with the laws and regulations of the country right now, I know that it's very, very hard for weed dispensaries to bank. I know it's very hard for them to take their money and go and run to the bank. But just because of the regulations of state commerce, of trade, there's still a lot going on with the federal illegalization of marijuana and shit like that. Like, it's very hard for these dispensaries to bank with a bank. Like, they usually have a fucking warehouse where they do a lot of their growing, and inside of that warehouse is a Fort Knox style ass motherfucking vault with like 17 guards with high powered fucking rifles just like holding down the fucking fort. So like it is a tempting business to like look at for some illegal behavior, especially when it comes to extortion. They got all the cash. It's not even a credit business. You can't even walk into these motherfuckers and pay with your card without paying an extra $10 on a fee. Like, it's mostly a cash only business. So it is a very appealing business to try to hit up. But when you do it like this, you are giving the owner of this legitimate business the entire power to make or break what you're doing. They could go and they could file, and it seems like that's exactly what's happened here. They can go cooperate with the police and fucking get you hit on a crazy ass fucking RICO charge. I mean, you know, don't do this. Don't do this type of behavior. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like, just don't do it. The big three. Yep. We already read that. Now this one is about the human trafficking. So Henley and Afflage arranged for the interstate transportation of individuals to engage in prostitution for Big U and Big U Enterprise members. She already done admitted to this shit. She already said that she done brought hoes from fucking LA to Vegas multiple times so that the gang can get it in type shit. She definitely should have exercised her right to remain silent. 100%, because she already gave up. That shit's already signed, sealed, delivered, dog. This one right here is 100% concrete in the books. Also says Big U defrauded various companies, donors, athletes. This is what I was talking about earlier, where he used his nonprofit to funnel money in and launder money out into his personal account using donating options, which was his nonprofit organization. Once again, never do a nonprofit if you want to keep on committing crime, because you're going to be the first one to get looked at. As a nonprofit organization, there's always that question in the back of every single person's head, even regular folk, even regular people. There's that question in the back of their head that they're like, well, why is this person funding a nonprofit organization in the first place? Like, what's the motives to just help people? Like, what's the motives for that? So there's always going to be eyes looking at you, and a lot of those eyes are going to be judging you just based off the fact that you have started and organized a nonprofit. So I wouldn't even do this if I wanted to commit crime. I would not even start a nonprofit. It's a great idea from a business sense, but from a street sense, I just would not do that. Henley fraudulently obtained funding from the city of Los Angeles' mayor's office through the Gang Reduction Youth Development GRID Foundation, portions of which received federal funding. I think that was definitely the PPP loans during COVID. Henley defrauded and attempted to defraud the Small Business Administration, the SBA, for loans that benefited the Big U enterprise. I think these two are directly in correlation with each other. To enrich Blanton as Big U Enterprise associate who purported to work for the Big U Enterprise's charitable organization, the Big Four now committed bank fraud by submitting a fraudulent mortgage application. This is what I said earlier as well. Big Three and other members and associates of the Big U Enterprise attempted to obstruct investigations and to conceal the above referenced crimes committed on behalf of the Big U Enterprise. So that's like the summary of all the crimes that are alleged in this indictment. Obviously, I do believe these are federal lawyers and federal prosecutors, and they kind of don't fuck around. To be fair, they actually do their homework and shit like that. I think there's a shit ton to unpack here. We're on page 19. out of 107. I might bring one of my guys in real quick. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna go get some water. I'm gonna be right back. Give me just a second.
Nothing. Just get in the car. Let's go. Come on.
Who did that?
Get in right now.
Did you paint it or something? Hi, Mr. Toady.
Meeting fatigue? You're not alone. Right now, employees everywhere are wasting valuable time in
There we go.
At first it wasn't, but now I'm in it.
What's good?
I said, yeah, at first it wouldn't let me join, but I'm in this thing.
Bet. Shit, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you too,
For sure.
so you can see what I'm looking at. Type shit. It's actually crazy work going on right now, man. With this whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, I see where we at. Hold on, let me zoom in. Okay, where you last?
All right, so I'm just at the top here at the statement of probable cause.
So now with the statement of probable cause, right? When you look at that, you look at the statement of probable cause. So what is probable cause? What establishes probable cause? These are terms to cause for investigation. A probable cause is to have a reason, pretty much.
This is the basis to even have a judge sign off on any subpoena or warrant that an investigation is asking for. So like the probable cause is what you have to do to get wiretaps and what you have to do to get a judge to sign off on a warrant. You have to establish probable cause. Most people do know that.
Some people don't now.
Some people don't, right?
So when you looking at the statement of probable cause, right? And when we go down to 1, 2, 3, it says wiretap.
Yeah.
Wiretap interception. Which means they had to establish a T83 wiretap. That's what it's called for the feds,
Okay.
which means that they have to have a subject of investigation. They have to have a reason for interception. A subject, a reason, whether it's something that they intercepted, they believe that a crime is being committed, about to be committed, or has already been committed.
Now let me ask you, with that being said, just as a side note, with that being said, is that all right? So like the objective question is that like entrapment? Is that like legal entrapment? They're legally allowed to seek you out in particular in an investigation as long as they go through the loopholes necessary. Is this like legal entrapment? I know entrapment itself, like cops targeting you and just chasing you down to find any crime that you commit, is illegal. Cops can't just do that. But with this loop, not necessarily a loophole, but with this statute of invasion, I mean, it technically is. When you get a wiretap, that is an invasion of privacy. I think that's been actually argued in court before. But and I do think that can facilitate entrapment, which is illegal for law enforcement. They're not supposed to be able to just pick somebody out of a crowd and say, I'm gonna go and find out what the fuck they're doing today, type shit, you know.
Give me 120 seconds. That's 2 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably covered by probable cause. As long as they have the probable cause, they can get a warrant to just run up in your shit if they really want to. So it probably is covered by the probable cause. You would have to go through the channels of submitting the probable cause and then getting a judge to adhere to the cause. And then you would have to submit a motion to tap a phone, I would think. So I guess in that sense, it's not truly entrapment, but it's damn fucking close. It's hugging the line.
All right, so let's do the history. All right. The history would be, right, what you're saying is entrapment, encroachment, a privacy violation, better yet known as it is known as the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which protects a person in a person, place, and effects, which means your direct surrounding. Why am I getting an echo? Hold on, I'm getting an echo, bro.
Hold on.
All right, there we go. We good.
Okay. All right, bet.
Okay. So this is the importance of establishing probable cause. Okay. So first and foremost, you got to understand that the Fourth Amendment, right? Each state has its own constitution. For an example, you have the United States Constitution, which is the law of the entire land, but each state has to graft its own constitution based off of the United States Constitution. For an example, the Fourth Amendment is the same as Article Section 126. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So when you deal with privacy violations, you got to establish probable cause first. Okay, it started with the Communication Act, the Federal Communication Act of in the 1930s. I can't remember exactly what year. So let me tell you how we got here. In the 1930s, when the federal government was established, right, when they was going after the mob and the mafia, they came up with a Federal Communication Act, which was the first act that allowed the federal government to intercept telephonic communication or any communication. This is when before the cell phones existed. This is when people was talking in the phone booths or in clubs. This is what allowed the feds to go in and put bugs. They called it bugs at that time in the phone booth and bugs in the club. Okay, so in the 1930s, we had the Federal Communication Act, which was amended, right? This is what they went after all the mafia, like Fat Cat Williams, Bugs, these guys. They utilized this act to entrap them and utilize their phone conversations and things like that. Since then, it was amended to the um, Electronic Communication Privacy Act, right? So the Federal Communication Act was later amended to the Electronic Communication Privacy Act, or ECPA, which still is being utilized to this day. This is what allows the federal government to intercept telephonic communications. So none of this can be allowed without exactly what you said. They had to have somebody to go, a witness, a confidential informant, or somebody who participated or that was willing to give up some information.
Right.
Reason being, I'm going to tell you why for a fact. In order to get a T-83 or a wiretap, you have to go in front of a federal judge with information saying, Your Honor, we believe that, what's his name? What's the dude name?
Eugene, Big U. Yeah.
Big U is committing crimes, is participating in illegal activities. The first thing the judge gonna say is, well, how do you know this? First thing the Fed's gonna say is, well, we got a reliable information from a resource. Then the judge gonna say, well, why is this person coming forward? So you have to, when the Feds do this, bro, the first thing they don't want you to do is be able to come at their confidential informant. So it's to establish the credibility of the confidential informant and the reason why he's presenting this information.
Now that makes a lot.
Mhm.
That makes a lot of fucking sense. And I think the big thing in this situation is that they did attack that dispensary. They did just run up in that dispensary and held that bitch up. And
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is that is an we talked about it earlier. It was an interference of commerce and free like trade of goods and services in this country is totally legal. If you interfere with somebody's trade, that's no different than like you going and looting the fuck out of the building, breaking windows, tearing shit up. Like the interference of commerce is basically you took a specific point in time out of the free trade day of this company and you interfered with their income, whether it's you stuck up the spot, took the CEO, took the boss in your car for a ride to talk about what the fuck expectations were next. At this point, it was like, I think it started off as $1,000 a week. It was an extortion plan of $1,000 a week. That
Oh, so
moved up.
they was extorting people too.
Well, it was a robbery to extort. So I think that's why it's so atrocious. I think that's why they're pressing it so hard. They ran up in a dispensary, stuck this bitch up, pulled blick, pulled burner, stuck this bitch
That's what
up.
it's. What?
Told the boss to give us everything. Run the fucking strong box. We need everything you fucking got. The owner gave them, I think they said it was like $25,000 to $30,000 worth of shit. Then
Well, let me tell you something. Hold on, hold on. Okay. This is what you got to understand about this. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay.
But they used what they stole as a buyback.
First thing first.
Okay.
First thing first. Whoever the owner of, because one thing that they do, you got to understand the thing about dispensaries and why they require cash, because cash can't be tracked
That's what I
or
was saying.
traded.
That's what I was saying earlier as well. I was also on the stream talking about how dispensaries can't bank with federal banks because it's not federally legal for them to sell their product. So you're not going to see a dispensary is a cash only business because of the fact that they can't even take their profits to the bank. They can't even
Now,
own
as
a
of
business
right
account
now,
at a federal bank.
as of right now, what's about to take place is it's already been, it has to go through the Senate, then it got to be voted on. It's been in the House for about a year. And it's really being pushed by a lot of the Republicans. It's surprising, bro. But they already is in the process of decriminalizing marijuana and changing it from a Schedule 2 to a different class federally.
As shocked as I am to hear that was the one thing that I said could really be done with this administration. I talked to a lot of people, and I was thinking about how this could really severely help the economy. And bro, I be going on up to Michigan sometimes.
For sure. Hold on,
I
hold
mean,
on, hold on. We gotta stick to it. All right, here
yeah,
we go.
yeah, you're right.
So by that being so, and the reason why they require money is because they know for a fact that if it's a paper trail, then it can be tracked by the feds. It's illegal federally, but each state has its own sovereignty. This is why you have dispensaries in certain states, and this is why them peoples ain't came. We just gonna call them peoples from here on out. Why them peoples ain't came and raided them? Because if you think about it, there truly is a separation between state and federal. A lot of people do not know that. You got to
That's
think
true.
about, you know what I'm saying? They own people. So we got the right to do whatever we want to do in our state, unless somebody fuck up over here to bring us to y'all attention, then don't fuck with us. And that's how it is. So
Right.
you got to think about this, bro. They obviously criminally thinking. They obviously knew that the dispensary that they ran up in was doing something illegal. I guarantee you. Because why wouldn't they have went to the police the first fucking time? If they would have went to the police the first time, then there would be no extortion right now. There would be attempted robbery, or burglary. You
Right.
think about it. Get what I'm saying? So obviously they was doing something wrong. They got the scoop on it. They went in there. They let them know, yo, this what's up. We know what the fuck y'all doing. Cut us in or cut this shit out.
Right.
They cut him in. They cut him in. They probably was hitting their pocket for a minute. Then motherfuckers probably got the action and demanded, man, we need more money.
Yeah. Yep.
Or like, and this is what would have created the problem, because then you got to think about it, motherfucker. If you now you paying me, you giving me money. I know you bogey now. Shit, this bitch, man, I want it now. Now I need 50% of everything that you making. That'll make a motherfucker go listen. And then even though
Yeah.
whoever it was running it was doing something wrong, the feds like we ain't even tripping, cause we don't want you no way. So you did what, and they did what, and they came in here, and y'all paying them. I
Right.
don't even trip, cause we've been on them anyway. We've been waiting on some shit like this.
Well, and see, there was
Boom.
another element to the crime of the extortion with the legit businesses because they did this more than once. So, like, it started off with that dispensary I was telling you about. You know, they stuck up this dispensary, they robbed the shit out of them. Then 2 hours later, they basically has somebody call the owner of the business's phone and say, "Hey, we want to set up a sit down with you and Big U." So 2 hours later, he takes a ride on out to Big U's spot.
Come on now.
Look, this is crazy. This is crazy fucking work, bro. No actual. I gotta tell you, like, no, like, there's no way that this is real. Like, it probably is, but this is insane. They called him back out there 2 hours later. He goes to Big U's spot. As he's walking up, they're counting the $30,000 to $40,000 worth of shit that they just stole from him on the table right in front of him.
Damn.
He sits down with Big U. Big U says, "All right, bro, I'm willing to give you all this back, homie." And this is about 40 bands worth of shit. "I'm willing to give you all this shit back right now, but you got to give me 10 grand for all your shit back. So you lose 10 grand out of this. I got you for 40. You'll get 30 back. I get 10. In return, I give you and your business protections from other organizations that are going to come and try to stick you up and backdoor you the same way that we just did. And all you have to do is pay me." At that point, I think it was like $1,000 or $1,500 a week type shit, right? He did a similar situation with a nightclub. He used the owner of the dispensary to get him in with an owner of a club in LA. It was his birthday. He was promoting this event for his birthday, and he said Wiz Khalifa was gonna be there. He said T.I. was gonna be there. Like, they promoted the club promoted the shit out of this event.
Right.
Big U got there with a bunch of his homies and shit. No T.I., no Wiz Khalifa. and walked straight into the back office and basically said, I need 30 bands right now for this event, and I get 30% of the door.
Yeah, dude was bogus anyway, bro. Come on now.
I mean, this is crazy work, bro. Like, honestly, bro, it's 2025. How the fuck you think you can get away with shit like this? You're going into legit businesses. These businesses have nothing. Like, for all we know, these owners ain't no street types, bro. They're just regular fucking dudes. What is to stop them from going and talking to the police and getting you jammed up on a massive fucking this is just
See, the only thing I could think about is because they had to know some shit. You got to think about it, bro. Why would anybody go, listen, why would you go to some shit, rob some shit, then call the person like, hey, yo, listen, man, look, you can come pick all that shit up. Meet me over here. Everything I just took, you gonna let me come right back and get it?
and buy it? Like,
Come on, man, stop it.
well, and
So
then
obviously,
and then obviously they go to him for the next like 2 years, week by week. Like, hey, bro, I need the band, I need the 1500 right now, type shit. And if you don't do it, we gonna come back and we gonna rob your ass again. They like what the fuck, bro? This is crazy work. Hold on, let me just at least get to that part.
yeah, get to that. Yeah.
There's so much here to unpack, and I think KB Goes Live had a really good summary of the video or of the document.
Man, Paul the Robinsons who witnessed one.
Well, this is
Recorded.
this is the murder. This is
Was
the
still
murder
at the
right
studio.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is the murder.
So yeah, let's read that.
So racketeering activity of murdering RW. RW was one of Big U's son's best friends. He actually Big U coached him on the juvenile football team, and Big U signed him as a rapper. Takes him out to Las Vegas. Let's see if they actually. No, I don't even know if they're gonna get. I don't even know if they're gonna get to it here. But he takes him on out to Vegas for a week to go and record in a studio out there, a Grammy award-winning studio out there. And homie RW actually recorded a diss track against Big U. He's a Rolling 60s Crip, and Big U is like the big homie of the Rolling 60s. RW,
He is the big one. Yeah.
he is the big homie. RW recorded like a diss track about him, almost everything that he could say against him without name dropping him. And then he skipped like 2 days in this Grammy award-winning studio in Vegas, which I assume is probably some expensive fucking studio time, to be fair.
Yeah, you already know.
So that's enough to piss Big U off right there. But then at the same time, while he was in the studio, he recorded a diss to Big U. So, and the Rolling 60s, I was just hearing tonight that there's a saying in the Rolling 60s, like, in order to become a 60, you got to kill a 60 or some shit like that. It's kind
You
of
said
like,
what? Run that back.
there's this rule apparently in the Rolling 60s where in order to become a 60, you have to kill a 60. So it's basically like
Nothing about that. Yeah.
it's basically like it's basically like in Star Wars, the Sith, the evil Jedi. In order to become a master, you have to kill your master. Basically, you got to cut the head that fed you, type shit, to become your biggest self, type shit. And I guess the 60s have, or they've either talked about it, or there's some sort of there's some sort of law there where I don't know if it's even a law or if it's just something that they've made fun of, but I know that Crips in LA, the certain different Crip sets do occasionally get into some shit. Like the Hoovers get into it with the 60s and the 20s and shit like that all the time.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyways, racketeering and murdering summary. As set forth below, there is probable cause to believe that Big U murdered the victim RW on January 25th, 2021, dragged his body into the desert in North Las Vegas. On that morning, North Las Vegas PD detectives discovered a body of RW lying in a desert near an Apex landfill. RW has been shot multiple times, and his body has been dragged and left in a ditch not far from Interstate 15. Hours before the homicide, RW was at the studio of Witness 2, which is obviously another...
Confidential informant.
Yep, that's another informant. I don't even know if it's a confidential informant, but it's definitely an informant. They definitely...
They wouldn't say witness to.
Yeah. With Henley.
They would say he or she.
So RW was at the studio hours before with Big U. Vegas PD investigation revealed that RW was one of Big U's recording artists and was at the studio as a guest of Big U, recording for Unique Music, which is Big U's record label, the independent label that Big U and Martin co-founded. Yeah. According to the studio witness, Witness 1, who was employed as a security for the recording studio, Big U was one of the last people seen with RW prior to RW's homicide. Also stated that Robinson drove Henley to Las Vegas. So Robinson drove Big U to Vegas from Los Angeles in a dark gray Lexus, and that Witness 1, in his security capacity, which he's a security guard, encountered Big U and Robinson when they arrived at the studio and had words with them because he did not know who they were. Witness 1's statements to Vegas PD at the outset of the murder investigation have been corroborated by other witnesses and cell phone location data, among other evidence. Further investigation revealed motive, opportunity, obstruction, inculpatory statements, and more from Big U and other members of the associates of the Big U enterprise.
Okay.
So, the murder and connection of the Big U enterprise on January 20th, 5 days before the murder and 3 days before Big U and Robinson drove from Los Angeles to Vegas, RW recorded a diss song that Vegas PD later obtained. In it, RW rapped about the person who had the money, that RW would be shot in the face for thinking shit's funny, and referenced a .38 revolver with no trace. Based on my knowledge of the investigation and conversations with others, I believe that in this diss, he was dissing Big U, referring to Big U as the bro that makes some money, and RW says we may get shot in the face for thinking his lackadaisical use of the studio and general representation by Unique Music is funny. RW was shot later in the face, apparently with a .38 revolver that left no shell casings. It is unknown whether Big U heard these lyrics prior to the murder or not. Now, I would argue that he definitely heard this fucking song.
Come on, he knew, and then dude,
it's his artist. He heard this fucking song, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the effectiveness of the Big U enterprise is premised on Big U's stature as the most feared man in Los Angeles, as such ensuring that no one disrespects Big U, and that any such perceived disrespect is met with reprehensible violence. It's a core tenet of the Big U enterprise, and even more so when that disrespect is displayed publicly, like in front of extortion victims, as Big U himself stated on an intercepted call in 2023, can't nobody beef with me, homie, because if he do, I'ma kill him, period. I am going to murder him. As Robinson explained in Surreptitious recording, when Big U got out, he said, I'm the toughest guy, and here's my body of work to prove it. And you know, I'm the only homie still killing shit today. You homies retarded, or you homies retired, I didn't. They understand that. Because the Big U enterprise existence relies and thrives on fear of violence, perception is paramount. And Witness 2 explained, Big U, through the Big U Enterprises entity, Unique Music, was using Witness 2's expensive, valuable studio to record the Big U Enterprises artist, RW, for free. The Big U Enterprise for years, and by taking the lackadaisical approach to the studio time, the Big U Enterprise had secured for the time, thereby, oh shit, my eyes are fucking up, thereby disparaging Big U's name and the Big U Enterprise's reputation, and potentially flouting that disrespect with the lyrics of the diss song led to a dispute between Big U and RW. The dispute was so serious that Big U and Robinson drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas to confront RW. So he flew his rapper out to Vegas, booked all this free studio time, probably on, I would almost argue a fucking, an extortion anyway. Because if you're getting Grammy award-winning studio time for free, I have to ask, how the fuck did you get that? Like, that's like 5,000, 10,000 an hour studio time. But he flew his rapper out there. His rapper dissed him. Then he was so pissed off that his rapper dissed him, he drove his ass from Vegas or from LA to Vegas and oversaw the rest of this guy's trip there. So, and that dispute then turned deadly. Throughout our investigation, no investigator, family member, witness, or any third party has ever identified any individuals that would have motive or opportunity to murder RW except Big U. That's another big thing.
I still haven't heard anything concrete. I heard a whole bunch of he say, she say.
Yeah, that is all hearsay so far. Until you realize that he left the studio with Big U. He did go to his Airbnb the day before he was supposed to leave, the day before he had a plane ticket to go home. He went back the day before, picked up his suitcase, put it in Big U's car, and that's the last time he was ever seen again. Then Big U, a couple days later, sent a weird text message to the phone to throw off the scent, but he called his mom, kind of had a really weird conversation with her, and then he never talked to her again. Didn't show up for the funeral. This is his son's best friend and a kid that lived in his house, and he fucking coached in football. Didn't go to the funeral. Never spoke to his mom again. Pretty actively covered up other people that might have known. Like, pretty actively covered up the fact that this happened. And it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. See, look, Henley's cell phone location corroborates his involvement in RW's murder. So for some reason, as soon as they left the studio, his phone turned off for a total, I believe, if we look here, his phone turned off. Well, hold on. There's a lot that we're skipping here. So I don't really want to do that. But his phone turned off for a total of 48 minutes. The detectives circumnavigated the location of the body from the studio and then from Big U to get from the body to his home. And it was 42 minutes. And this trip took Big U 48 minutes. So this is how they're already playing it. As soon as you and him left the studio, or as soon as you and him went back to the Airbnb and he put his suitcase in your trunk, it took you 48 minutes to get to where y'all were going and to get back home. He was never seen again. 48 minutes is a long time to lose to lose your son's best friend.
Still, bro, I get all the listen, you I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Continue. You gotta convince me.
So the last part of the evidence that I think is the most damning is the DNA evidence on
There we go.
on RW's body. After the autopsy, they conducted a search of the fingernails, and underneath his fingernails, he had Big U's DNA on him. Now you can still say that he was hanging out with him all day, and at any point in time, he could have like rubbed up on his shirt or like, you know, went and gave him some dap or something like that, and he could have brushed off like some sweat DNA underneath his fingernails, but jury's probably not going to hear that shit. Like a jury's probably not going to go for that. Normally, if you're getting enough of penetration from your fingernails to get DNA, you're kind of clawing at something at that point. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard.
Pretty much, yeah. But, you know, I think the big thing was
he should have never had his cell phone on him that night at all if he was going to do this. If he did this.
Exactly.
Like I said, man. Fucking he probably should have never went to Vegas if he was going to do this. He probably should have just stayed at home. He has enough money to
somebody else.
He has enough money. He has enough clout. He could have sent somebody else. That's what Dirk did. And Dirk probably could have got away with that shit. But now all this shit is coming back together.
What he had to do was, man.
It was the flight records, probably.
He is supposed to send somebody and then have somebody get rid of that somebody he sent.
Yeah. Yep.
But that somebody who got rid of somebody he sent was to somebody that's close to him, not to somebody that actually did it. See, Dirk couldn't do that because them was his actual homies. He couldn't do that. But how the people do it? Come on, man. They sent somebody that they care about. I don't know that person.
I mean, I'm looking at this entire situation. I'm looking at the extortion. I'm looking at the white collar crimes. There's a ton of fraud in this as well. PPP loans, which a lot of businesses go through after COVID and shit like that. There's a lot that goes on with his nonprofit. And I think the biggest point that I was trying to make before you even got in here was, if you are still willing to commit crime, you should never start a nonprofit. Never.
Damn right. I mean, can I say that?
Of course. This is yeah. Ain't no children allowed to watch this shit, man. This the real rap raw, man. We talk about all sorts.
Yeah, but why would he though, bro? Why would he create something like that? And then
he did though, developing options. Which if it was a real, if I believed it to be a real organization, I would 100% be for it. But you cannot operate on some hierarchy of a criminal organization when you have your name on a nonprofit. Like, the government is absolutely watching you because, like I said, immediately after you start a nonprofit, even normal people around you are like, what is in it for him? Like, why the fuck would you just do this?
it's a big difference. All right, so let's paint the picture right. Here we go.
Yeah, I need your take on this.
Here's the picture. This dude wasn't a low profile dude. He had already committed crimes. He had already did all of this. So for one, they was already watching. They already knew he was on. These people watch you for so long, allow you to do so much, and then they get you. That's what happened to him. They knew everything. This was Nipsey Hussle's manager, bro. If they was on Nipsey Hussle, and of course they was on him.
Well, see, that was what Black Sam was just going off about recently, was the fact that he said that Big U killed Nipsey Hussle. And that's why that whole, to become a 60, or not even to become a 60, you got to kill a 60. But that's where that came from. Like Nipsey, I don't remember who the rapper was, but somebody came into town, and instead of checking in with Big U, they checked in with Nipsey. And Nipsey put the stamp on him. And Big U was pissed the fuck off about that shit. So there's a ton of people that think that Big U in the 60s actually killed Nip. And there's been a couple of different occurrences. Like they were on live stream and they had mentioned Nipsey one time, and all the 60s around Big U started like chuckling and laughing and shit. And there's been a couple of instances where it almost seems like the rolling 60s, Nipsey Hussle's brothers basically killed him.
All accusations, all you know what I'm saying, opinions, right?
Yeah, I think with LA in particular, I think it's very similar to Chicago. They got their own politics, and I think in order to really like pay attention to LA, you kind of have to pay attention to the people that are there in LA. It's very similar to like Texas, certain parts of Florida, Memphis, Philly. Like in those areas, if you really kind of want to get a good idea of what's going on, you kind of have to listen to the people that are in those areas, that are actually operating in those areas. You know what I'm saying?
I know for a fact exactly what you're saying. That's why I was born. And, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Family members stay on their way. So,
Stream, I'm gonna go on hold for just a second. Give me just a minute. Going outside, smoke real quick. I'm gonna be right back. Everybody, chill. Be good.
inside your self-righteous symphony. I would rather let this go than to bring